Hello, everybody. I noticed from your comments that many of you are still struggling with overpacking, or if you want to go carry-on only, you still have trouble squeezing everything into those tiny bags. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to give you my 10 tips to reduce overweight luggage and to make everything fit. And I'm not a big fan of this tip, just put everything on the bed and reduce half of it, because I think we need a little bit more system than that. So let's start with the first tip. And that's something I learned the hard way over the last few years, is to leave all those just-in-case items at home. If there is a reasonable chance that I can buy it at my destination with little effort for a reasonable price, I will just leave them at home. A classic example for me, for example, would be female hygiene products. If I'm not sure that I will need them, I will just bring enough to survive a day and then buy more once I'm there. The same goes with medicine. Basic things like diarrhea pills or headache pills, you can literally buy anywhere in this world. So I just bring enough to survive basically the time until I can buy them and not more. My second tip is to consider if there is anything you can buy there. A classic example for me are, for example, toiletries. Even though I switch to solids as much as possible, there are still a few bulky things that we need a lot of, like sunscreen or bug spray. Sunscreen I usually bring a small bottle with me to survive the first day or two, and then I just buy. They would be too big anyways to go on an airplane, so I always just plan on buying them when I arrive at my destination or maybe in the duty-free shop on the way. Another thing I regularly buy when I arrive in Brazil, for example, are Havaianas flip-flops. Here in Europe they charge me 25 euros a pair. When I buy them in Brazil, where they have them on every corner, they're basically 5 euros a pair. So I just buy them there, I wear them while I'm there, and if they're still good enough, I bring them home and have at the same time a nice souvenir for myself. My next tip is to consider the weight. And the most obvious example would be the travel bag itself. So if you have the option, make sure to choose a bag that is as lightweight as possible, especially when you're flying carry-on only. Many carry-on bags, they weigh 3 to 4 kilos when they are empty, and then airlines, some of them are very strict, they give you maybe 7 kilos of allowance, so you can only fill it with 3 kilos of your stuff, which is honestly impossible. My backpack weighs 900 grams, less than 1 kilo, so if I have 7 kilos of allowance, I can fill it with everything I have. My bag is usually lighter than 6 kilos, thanks to having a light bag. And if you think that your bag is too small, then really make sure to take advantage of the personal item you're usually allowed to bring. Try to max out the dimensions, don't waste it on a small, tiny purse. What I travel with, for example, is this Peak Design tote bag. It's foldable in its own bag, but if I unpack it, it's rather big with a zipper on top, and I just put my small purse in there and I use it for everything else that I need on the plane. And once I'm at my destination, I use it as a grocery bag or to go to the beach. But it's really not just the luggage. Consider it for all your other things as well, because 100 grams here and there, they can add up quite quickly. A typical example, in my opinion, would be shorts. Do you really need to bring 3 pairs of heavy jeans shorts? I personally replaced my shorts with hiking shorts that look like normal shorts. They weigh 56 grams, they pack very, very small, and they almost dry instantly when I wash them, so I could technically wear 1 pair of shorts the whole trip and I would be fine. So this really saves me a lot of space and weight in my luggage as well. And one tip you hear very often is just to wear the most bulkiest items on the plane, which is something that I agree with. But if you, for example, fly to a warmer country where you will not need all those clothes for a while and you plan on moving from place to place, then also consider that you will need to fit them into your bag when you are there. And when you're at the airport and you worry that much about weight, then don't forget that you can store some things in your pockets of your jacket or your pants, or also in your personal item. My next tip is to leave all those things at home that you can easily rent at your destination. There's usually no need to bring bulky beach towels or bathrobes or sports gear like snorkeling equipment or beach chairs. So if you can easily rent those things at your destination, then in my opinion, the cost is worth it, that you don't have to haul those things around. And the way I always calculate, since I travel carry-on only, I can see how much I would pay if I would add 1 checked bag. And usually it's around 120 euros. And for 120 euros, I can rent a lot of things at my destination. So my next tip is to make everything digital if possible. The classic example would be books. And I know that many book lovers are now crying out saying, "Oh, I need a proper book to read. Ebooks are impossible for me." Trust me, I was like you. I thought the same. I'm even someone who went on a 2 weeks long distance hiking trip with a 600-page book. Well, I'm not going to comment on the intelligence of that move and how much I suffered. I could not even throw it away because I borrowed it from someone, so I really had to carry it for the 2 weeks. But honestly, I got used to it. If you just do it regularly, you get used to it. And I usually travel with my iPad mini, which is awesome for reading books. But I'm also just as comfortable nowadays to continue reading my book on my iPhone mini. Another thing you don't need in physical form anymore are all those things like travel itineraries or boarding passes. All those things can save you a lot of weight if you don't bring them. Just move to digital and you're going to be fine. So my next tip would be to minimize cables and chargers. And I know that for short trips, it's probably not worth it, but if you travel a lot, it's a well-made investment in my opinion. And it's also a little bit of a long-term strategy in my opinion, because it makes sense to really invest in devices that have the same charging cables. So in my case, I can charge all my devices with this one charger and one cable that I just equipped with a little adapter. So if I would want to travel with the minimum, this would be all I need to bring to keep all my devices charged. And if you have a lot of things you need to charge at the same time, or you have lots of different plugs that you need, then it's also always a good idea to invest in a good charger with different plugs or with several plugs. And this also comes in very handy, in my opinion, when you need to use travel adapters, when you travel to other countries, because with one travel adapter, you can power all your devices. So my next tip would be to reduce the amount of clothing you bring and create a capsule wardrobe. And I already did a video where I talk about my principles on how I pick my clothes for traveling, and I will link it in the description. But to sum it up, I usually bring clothes for 3 or maximum 4 days, something to sleep and something if I need for activities, if I cannot cover it with the other clothes I bring, and that's it. And ideally, I pick clothes that are multi-purpose. For example, I have hiking shorts that look like normal shorts, so I can wear them during the day for hiking, for swimming, but also at night at the restaurant. And I also always make sure that my clothes dry quickly, because that brings me to my next tip, which would be to be prepared to wash on the road. And I already did a separate video. I will also link it below. But basically, it's very easy, in my opinion, to just wash as you go. And minimum I bring is just a sheet of laundry detergent. But I have a few other gear tips to bring to do laundry. But it's all in the other video. My next tip is regarding to gifts for other people if you visit someone else in another country. In the past, I always brought a bottle of good Austrian wine or something, but since a few years, we totally stopped bringing gifts from our home country at all. What I now prefer much more when I visit someone in another country, instead of just giving him an item and saying, "Take it, thanks, bye," I much more prefer to spend some time with them. So I would usually either take them out for a few drinks or a nice dinner somewhere, or if you really want to make it more personal, what people also always appreciate is if you cook them something from your home country, and that always also makes for a very nice night, cooking together, having fun, having a few glasses of wine. So this is something I enjoy more than bringing gifts, and it also saves me a lot of space. And my last tip would be to go through your things when you come home, because there are always things you never used or you did not use at all. And even I do this still, and even I have lots of items I don't use. Before I leave on a trip, I usually think, this time I nailed it. There's nothing there that I will not use. And then you come home and you realize there's like this dress you didn't wear, or those shirts you didn't wear, or this you didn't like. So really revise after you come home and learn from it. You will usually learn a lot. So just go through your things, think about if they were useful, if you enjoyed wearing them, if you would bring them again. So when I unpack, I always have a critical look on the things I brought, and then I leave them at home the next time. So that's how I really gradually, from trip to trip, manage to be more minimal. So these are my 10 tips to reduce overpacking. If you have any tips for me, leave them in the comments. I always love hearing them. And other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!